At the beginning of this video, I'd like to state that there's no obvious ill intent towards any group of people or positions that I'm talking about in this video. And I'm not going to, people begin their videos, well, you have to watch until the end. If you have to be told that, then you're pretty close-minded and you don't need to be told that. So, watch until the end. Oh yes, there, I did it. I'm so sorry. Anyway, a lot of us are familiar with when we talk about feminism, we flash definitions up on the screen. And here's the one that you often see for feminism, about the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. And then you'll also see egalitarian definition up on the screen of or relating to or believing the principles that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. Well, I think these two definitions are compatible. What is not compatible is the different definitions of feminisms and the types of feminisms. At this point, I see that there is a close similarity to, let's just pick on Christianity, in that I've read tens of thousands of sects or branches of Christianity that few agree with each other, and some feel that the Bible, Old or New Testament, are inspired words of God. Others don't. It's the literal word of God. We shouldn't take it literally, say some. Or there's the Protestantism and Catholicism, and it just goes on and on. And so which one is right? Which one is true? They all claim they're true. And we're not even getting into other religions. If Christianity is correct, then all the other religions are wrong. But Christianity is so diverse, and they are incompatible with each other. And I'm drawing that connection to feminism. We're going to do a brief history of the types of feminism, which I assume many of you are aware of. So that's why I'm going to make it brief. If this was going to be encyclopedic, then this video would probably take hours, and we're going to go right down to a brief history, and then talk about the incompatibilities of some of the modern current forms of feminists. And you need to decide, if you claim you're a feminist, which one you are. Maybe you don't need to, but when you become aware of the incompatibilities with other feminists, then you have to question, is the one that I follow correct, or are they all wrong? Could I be wrong? Just like religion, if you're a Muslim and you think the Christians are wrong and will not go to heaven, or the other way around. Like I said, I'm simplifying, otherwise this will take hours. The first wave of feminism refers typically to the women's suffrage movement, the late 19th century and early 20th century. And these were wide civil rights issues: right to vote, the right to own property, just the basic human rights that women are equal to men. I believe they were successful.
Well, politicized really happened in my childhood, because every time my parents heard the word Roosevelt, they cried, because they got us out of the Depression. So, I mean, I always had an idea that what was going on politically was important in our everyday life. But really, I spent a long time accepting my own position in society and just assuming that I had to try harder or do better, or it was my fault. So, I owe my life, really, and the understanding that I'm not crazy, the system is crazy, to women who stood up and said, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense that we're not getting equal pay. Or I went to an abortion hearing early on to cover it, and for the first time, this was just before Roe v. Wade, for the first time I heard women standing up and saying in public what had happened to them, the risk of their lives, the risk of their health, for something that 1 in 3 American women needs during their lifetime. And I think that was the great aha for me.
The second wave feminism is often associated with feminist activity from the 1960s and 1970s and is directly associated with the women's liberation movement. And they wanted to end discrimination. They took the first wave feminism a step further with women's education, career advancement, end of discrimination in the workplace, and more equal rights. And I believe they were successful in that endeavor. Oh, and very importantly, control over female reproduction choices for women. I neglected that. That's really big in second wave feminism and highly successful, I think, in a lot of people's opinion. Third wave feminism started in the 1990s, and it was a response to the perceived failures of the second wave and a backlash against some initiatives and movements created by the second wave. Most importantly are those who believe that there are no inherent differences between the sexes and contend that gender roles are due to social conditioning. And now there is supposedly a fourth wave of feminism, which all the reading I'm doing is fairly nebulous, although it does continue the social justice aspect of third wave feminism, and it seems to be more of an online phenomenon or slacktivism. I to be biased here, it's hitting me as the version we're seeing online where everybody's being called a sexist and a misogynist, and if they disagree with what the high priestess of feminism or the men who are claimed to be feminists, then they are all these horrible things if you disagree with them. It seems with the increased focus on intersectionality, it seems to be part of the budding authoritarian left, but that's just, I'm putting my bias into this. You make your own decisions. Okay, so now we get into types of feminism, radical feminism, which say they're the ones that believe in the patriarchy is the sexist institution that are responsible for women's oppression. Radical feminists, they want to uproot and have a reconstruction of society in order to overthrow this bad patriarchy.
MRAs should be, if you shut the fuck up and let me read my list, there's the fucking proof.
And so I obviously can't like argue that.
So, number one, shut the fuck up for a second. Feminists do not want you to lose custody of your children. The assumption that women are naturally better caregivers is part of patriarchy. Feminists do not like commercials in which bumbling dads mess up the laundry and competent wives have to bustle in and fix it. The assumption that women... We're working on it and you guys are trying to dismantle it. But if you'd fucking listen...
I don't believe they do.
Then
why are you part of the organization?
Saying that we're trying to take away their rights? How are we trying to take away their rights?
Why?
Can you shut the fuck up for a second too?
Well,
so I can
he
read
just
my
listed
fucking list,
how they
so you
are
guys can actually answer those questions.
And within radical feminism, there's a few subcategories or different forms, and I will save. I'm going to talk about separatist feminism, but I'm going to save the term which is called TERFs, T-E-R-F, for later. They feel that the disparities between men and women are completely unresolvable, and men can never make positive contributions to the movement, even if they're well-intentioned. So I guess Steve Shives is out on this one.
This video is going to include discussions about racism, and because I am white, none of these thoughts about racism in this video are my original thought. I accredit to most of the ideas that I have picked up from these two videos created by two very lovely black YouTubers. So go and check them out, please, because they're lovely and awesome, and like, why not? All white people are racist, all men are misogynistic, all cisgender people are transphobic, all members of a majority are biased against the members of the minority or oppressed group. In fact, most people are racist, misogynistic, transphobic, ableist, etc. I am racist, classist, ableist, and I probably contribute to many other systems of marginalization that I am not aware of.
Die, cis, scum.
And some of us are aware that the response to anti-pornography feminists, there is now sex-positive feminism, who believe that heterosexual pornography, that's funny, heterosexual pornography who believe that sexual freedom, which may or may not be a woman's right to participate in pornography, it's an essential component of women's freedom. Black feminism, or womenism, argues that sexism, class oppression, and racism are inextricably bound together. Socialist feminism, or Marxist feminism, connects the oppression of women to Marxist ideas about exploitation, oppression, and labor. Socialist feminists see the need to work alongside men and other groups and to focus their energies on broad change that affects society as a whole and not just an individual basis. So there are several other types of feminism, and I'm certain that just by briefly mention, I haven't touched upon all of them, but liberal feminism, French feminism, ecofeminism, Christian feminism, and I like this one, pro-feminism. And this is what we see a lot on the women on the internet. They refer to supportive feminism without implying that a supporter is a member of the feminist movement. We hear that over and over again, meaning that they believe in equality and they believe in gender equality, but they don't identify as feminists. That's very interesting. I want to refer you to, I said I would get back to one of the forms of radical feminists.
What was the next bit? Oh, does it matter what a movement is called? I think it does a bit. We now have equality feminism. Everyone thinks that's fine. Women should get paid the same as men. Women should be able to go in the army. Women should be able to be in the front line, carry weapons, blah, blah, blah. As if men's lives were the desideratum. We just want to have what they've got. But I don't think we do. They've got a lot of stuff that we don't terribly want. Like an enormous array of pornography, for example. You know, it's the biggest cultural product on earth is pornography. And very few women use it, even after 50 Shades of Grey. So I would say I'm not an equality feminist. That's, to me, equality is profoundly conservative aim. It wouldn't change anything. We'd be doing the same stuff that men do. It's just we'd have different plumbing. I've always been a liberation feminist, so for me it's women's liberation is the idea. And that means that I can't tell you what's round the corner, because I don't know. If women were free to assert their own priorities, what would they do? I'm 76 now, and it's not up to me to say to people your age what you should be aiming at. I know what I long for you to aim at, like world peace, as if you were going to be Miss World. Peace would be good.
Here's a blog on the Huffington Post, and the link is in the description. I suggest it would be a good idea to read the entire article if you haven't already. And this person is talking about TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminism, which I have come to understand as being a derogatory term towards these people. And she describes them, the TERFs, as she calls them, as a loosely organized collective with a message of hate and exclusion against transgender women in particular, and transgender people as a whole. They have attached themselves to radical feminism as a means to attempt to deny trans women basic access to healthcare, women's groups, restroom facilities, and anywhere that may be considered women's spaces. It's interesting because on this blog they describe the fear of when speaking out against the TERF movement, one is at risk of being outed on social media. In other words, they're claiming that the TERF movement used the same tactics as the social justice warriors and the new third or fourth wave feminists. And what's really interesting is that Like I made an earlier reference to religion, which one is right, which one is wrong. If I'm right, you're all wrong. I don't identify with trans exclusionary radical feminist ideology. In the article, this person talks about whenever a trans individual, such as myself, is critical of TERF ideology, we are labeled misogynist or men's rights activist, which is an interesting tactic and one that seems to actually make people question the TERF ethos more than swing the undecided towards their viewpoint, which is really I find it interesting because when people question the SJWs, they get labeled racist, misogynists, and we see this all the time. Men's rights activists, people like myself who are not know very little of the MRA movement, as it's called, men's rights activists, would be labeled such. And I think this person, let me get the name here, who wrote this article, Kelsey Bryn Jones, is hitting on the nub of what's wrong with not feminism, not TERFs, not radical feminists, but the whole social justice warrior thing. There's this infighting amongst themselves, and they're calling each other, labeling each other, and this is exactly what they do I'm seeing by even calling them TERFs is labeling them. It's derogatory. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But they're using the same tactics that they're accusing the TERFs of using. So it's funny when someone breaks into your car, they smash the window, and they rob you, and the police come and they accuse you of trying to attack them and rob them. And if you think that's a joke, it happens. And this whole system of accusing people of what you're doing, it's called being a hypocrite. But this article points out the irony of the social justice warrior movement. You make your own decisions. I think we can go back to egalitarian definition and believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. I think that in the Western society we have achieved that to a massive extent. We don't have these institutionalized patriarchy going around keeping women from keeping anyone from having jobs or succeeding. We're not perfect, and we will continue to improve. The problem I see is that a lot of in the social justice warrior movement, because of their ideology, they think that they are perfect and cannot be criticized. And this is not creating a dialogue where we can move forward. So two sides disagree, and we either duke it out or maturely discuss it, and our society is moving more and more into an egalitarian society. The civil rights movements and the feminist movements and all movements of that type for equality and egalitarianism in the past have worked really well. In North America, in Western Europe, and many other places around the globe, things have improved. There are parts of the world where life is pretty terrible, pretty rough, less equality, but it's I think the rising tide is lifting all boats around the world. Just like when they talk about the pay equality in third world countries is following the first world countries, whether you agree with that or not. The point is that these movements in the past have worked, and in the United States and Canada and most European countries, there's very little inequality. There's nuances, and this is where they've come up with this microaggression term, because the differences are so minuscule. When you say micro, you think of a microscope. You have to find them. And I'm not saying that there isn't anything wrong and anything that doesn't need improvement, and there is. It's just that we have moved to a society that is not interested in keeping other people down. As a whole, there are pockets of individuals that do not want, that are not like themselves, to succeed or to have equal rights or more rights than them. But as a whole, we've moved, we've marched in a very positive direction. Thank you very much for watching this video, liking this video, subscribing to this channel, and I hope to see your comments below, especially if you disagree. Critique this video and tell me where I've gone wrong. Thank you.